Hey everybody, welcome to this week's episode of the Patty G Show. We sit down with another Patrick. That's right, we talk with Patrick of Irrevocable Designee, and we learn about the stories and the visions behind the Louisiana Film Tax Credit and the Louisiana film industry, and the exciting things they have in place now and the road that they want to go in the future. This episode is brought to you by our local and great partners, Valaya Real Estate, Lakeman's Health Center, Cortex, and PB&J Productions.
I mean, that's a hell of a deal.
Not as good of a deal as the film industry in Louisiana.
Yes, it's been a good deal for a long time, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about your involvement in that. How did you get in the chair today, Patrick?
Lord have mercy. Okay, so I'm not gonna. All right, I'm gonna keep it 2000 on. How about that? Well, so
I think there's some pertinent information pre-2000.
Yeah. All right. Fine. Like
it's not a 5-minute segment. We got time.
Okay. Well, so I'm from Natchez, Mississippi originally, right?
Okay, a transplant.
Yeah. And so once upon a time, I enjoyed making little like silly videos for school and that kind of thing or whatever. And I said, well, I want to go to film school.
Okay.
So I went to the University of Colorado at Boulder my freshman year. What's significant about that? You watch South Park?
Not really.
Well, the guys who make
one of like 2%.
You've seen it. You know what I'm talking about.
I've seen it. I know what it is.
Okay. Well, those guys who are pretty famous still, they were 2 years ahead of me, and they actually had made a name for themselves already out there. And of course, I'm this kid from Mississippi, and I go there, and I didn't realize. I mean, film kind of sucked back then because you had to actually splice two pieces of film together, right? And you had to book a lab to do this. Like, you have no idea how lucky you are to be able to do stuff on your iPhone like that. But anyway, and so you had to have it developed, and it was just a pain. It like took all the fun out of filmmaking when you have to actually do stuff like that, because you might have a humanities exam, at 8 a.m., but you're booked in a lab at 2 a.m. because that's the only time you get in there, right? So it sort of lost its luster. And then the biggest thing was this: I was dating a girl from back here, right? So I said, well, I'm gonna go do a summer semester with her at LSU, and I'm gonna go back to Colorado in the fall. And that turned into, well, I'm going to do a fall semester with her, and I'm going to go back to Colorado in the spring. And that turned into, I broke up with a girl, I fell in love with LSU, and I never quite left. Go Tigers.
Wait, so you broke up with the girl?
Yeah, and then I stayed.
And then you stayed?
Just because I loved LSU so much.
Okay,
right? Yeah.
So clearly the girl wasn't the selling point for you.
No, it was LSU.
The Tigers.
Football. Yeah, right. I mean, and like University of Colorado, Boulder was actually really good at football. Like they had won the national championship a year before I got there or whatever, right? But they don't tailgate. Or at least not where
they don't?
Not like we do, It's not a culture.
Yeah, no one's going out there the night before with RVs and just partying from the time they get there to the time the game's over and beyond.
And it sounds fun to go to a game in the snow. It's not as much fun as you think, I mean, so anyway, and I didn't ski, I mean, it was a cool experience, pretty town or whatever, but it's funny, back then, I don't know if it's still that way, the two prettiest campuses in America, like consistently, Baton Rouge and Boulder, right?
Okay.
So, well, anyway, stuck around, and so I guess I'll cut the school part of it out. Although I was a political science major, believe it or not. But in 2000, I went to go work for a company called the Weil Agency. Okay, it's a guy named Gus Weil. He used to kind of do what you did. He had a show called what was that? Louisiana Legends or something like that. And he would interview folks on LPB and whatever, but he was the guy that got James Carville started and a bunch of, big political consultants. And to be a creative back then, I didn't know what I could, because there was no film program at LSU back then.
Right.
And if you want to be a creative in this town, it's like you either, worked in local TV or you were a political consultant who made these cool ads and stuff. I thought I wanted to do that. So that's why I went to go work for him. But ended up, one of his clients was Channel 2. So I ended up doing some work for them, and they asked me to just come work for them. So
okay.
So I worked at Channel 2 for 2 years, and then I worked at WWL TV in New Orleans for 2 years. Then I came back and did another 2 years at Channel 2. And from there, I ended up going to work for the State Film Office in 2006, right? And I guess my thought at the time was like, I was doing all kinds of fun, creative stuff, like you guys. I was putting things on the air like every day, but wasn't paying the bills. So the state paid slightly better. They had this new tax incentive program that was luring in all these big films, right? Mm-hmm. And so I thought to myself, well, if I can't be creative, at least I can help other people, right? And so I went to work for the State Film Office and got really good at, film commission type stuff. Like somebody calls up and says, hey, where can I find this location? Where can I find this piece of equipment? Who's good at blank? You know, you might not know the answer the first time somebody asks you, but you spend a week. But once you know it for life, right? So you get the reputation of like, oh, call that guy. He knows everything about film stuff, you know? So I did that for, 3 years, I think. But let's be honest, the real reason why they're coming is not the gumbo. It's not the football. It's not even the locations. It's tax incentives, right? I mean, Louisiana kind of started a revolution with that. Again, we're doubling for all over the world, and it's going very well. 2009 is when Celtic was under construction. And they had a guy here from LA that was running it. He was kind of a fish out of water. One day he tells me he's leaving, and I was just kind of joking with him. I was like, man, that place is going to be amazing when it's done, Kevin. Like, can I have your old gig? And he's like, are you serious? I was like, I don't know. Should I be? He's like, that's a great idea. He recommended me. Next thing you know, I'm interviewing with the folks who own the place here on Sherwood Forest Boulevard, and then the folks who are running it from LA. And then I'm moving in September of 2009 as Battle Los Angeles. Battle LA was moving in. So that was first big production Baton Rouge had since All the King's Men, I think, which was before Katrina. And anyway. And so, apples and oranges. I mean, like production you're doing at Channel 2 versus Sony Columbia.
That. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, we had a good run. We had some good, huge projects that came through Celtic while I was there.
So then you wrap up at Celtic in
2017.
2017.
Yeah.
Okay. So you've done, I mean, how many projects were you a part of during your tenure over there?
Oh, I mean, when you start counting like smaller things, commercials, like independent films on top of these big tent poles that we'd have like Battleship, like a $214 million film, Yeah, we'd have like I don't know, I would say Raising Cane's commercial. We actually just had a Raising Cane's commercial just a few months ago, but you'd have like some smaller stuff that happened all the time. So I mean, I keep, if it's a production day, I count it as a production. So
right,
dozens of things came through there in my 8 years. I mean, I think we try to total up how much, like if the total budgets, not all of it obviously was spent here, but the total budgets for some of these productions, like 1.2 billion.
Wow.
So we welcomed a lot of big spending here at Baton Rouge while I was there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, now you got the building starting to kind of like be repurposed almost.
Yeah, man, these are interesting times. Those big tentpole productions. Like Oblivion with Tom Cruise. If you watch that show, they've got this huge sky tower apartment. In the future, but it was built on that high one. If you're coming down Bluebonnet and you see the one peeking up over the trees, that's actually one of the tallest sound stages in North America. It was modeled after Fellini's stage in Rome.
Wow.
Yeah. And it was just high enough that they could build that giant tower set, which cost $1 million to build for one set.
That is crazy. Like set design and set building.
Oh, it's an economy.
For those big productions is insane.
It is. Absolutely. And they're transferable skills. I mean, some of those guys are probably building houses or.
But then like, what do you do with it afterwards? Right.
Yeah.
Like where do you keep that? Do you keep that? I know like for a certain period of time, they have to keep some sets in case you have to reshoot anything.
Yeah. And that was a perfect example of that because it cost so much. They were scared if they had to come back and do reshoots, they didn't want to have to rebuild it. So they paid Celtic to keep it up for a year,
Wow. A year?
A year.
So they're just renting to have that space.
Yeah. So we after a while, we realized we weren't coming back. We may or may not have like gone in there and like hung out and played around. And so anyway.
Repurposed it for other
repurposed
things.
it. Yes.
Yeah.
That's a great word. Repurpose
the scene.
Retool.
Retool it, rebuild it, redesign it, put it in some other projects for sure.
That's it. Yeah. So, well, so I guess the point of retooling and repurposing is kind of like what the industry is doing right now.
Yeah.
Because we are great at facilitating production in Louisiana. I mean, I'll put us up against anybody as far as our crews. I mean, we had, 7 films that were nominated for Best Picture in a span of like 12 years,
Okay.
2 of those actually won Best Picture, Green Book and 12 Years a Slave, right? So you don't do that if your crews are no good. But our crews are experienced, really, really good. The problem, again, one thing is just like we haven't stayed consistent, the production executives say they have, they're looking for the 3-legged stool is what they call it. They're looking for incentives, right? They're looking for infrastructure. Well, again, we've got the largest design built studio in the Gulf South here. and they're looking for crew. Well, we have crew. The problem is we keep losing them because we're not consistently busy,
Yeah, they have to pick up other odd-end jobs, or
you either move away or you do something
altogether.
Else. Yeah, I mean, there are guys who are probably driving for Uber who would drop it in a heartbeat if a production came to town. But some are just like, I can't feed my family this way. I've got to go do something else. I'm selling insurance or whatever. So it's been a rough patch. It's it's not, some of it's Louisiana's own fault. It's more like the industry. It's just changed completely, especially over the past 5 years, I'd say, ever since the pandemic.
Yeah. So what have been like the biggest changes over the last 5 years, you think?
Well, so it's like Louisiana is kind of the perfect example. We're great at facilitating production, right? And I was the biggest facilitator of them all at one point with these giant films like Twilight, Saga of Breaking Dawn, parts 1 and 2, and, Fantastic Four. I mean, not a good movie, not the one with Miles Teller. And anyway, but we didn't care. All we cared about was them spending money, renting stage space. That was my job. And that's also kind of when I realized that we're probably not doing this right, because we're great at facilitating production. We're not making our own, right? And so that's the big leap that needed to happen. It's a big reason why I left in 2017, is I realized that, okay, Hollywood will love you and leave you, right? And Hollywood has left the U.S. I mean, again, why I see Trump is talking about tariffs, on foreign-made films. There's a reason behind that. And that's just because our crews are out of work. They're shooting in Bulgaria and Romania and Australia and UK, Canada, anywhere but here, which is sad, So that's a longer political conversation probably, but point being that, like, the retooling that we need to be doing, and which is what I've been working on, is like, we've got to start greenlighting our own projects. We got to be the masters of our own destiny here. How about that?
Yeah. We have to like make sure we're doing what we can.
That's right.
To get people in here. And
plus, there's a difference between owning content and facilitating content creation. I mean, like residuals. That should be the name of the game. That should be the goal. Like, we want money flowing back here long after that thing quits shooting.
So how do we go about doing that?
Well, finance that's the thing. They talk about. They said this three-legged stool. It should really be the four-legged table. Okay, because the four-legged table is for feasting, and the fourth leg, consistent work. But how do you get consistent work? Well, you get that through content. And how do you get content? Well, through capital, right? So really, again, the business that we created was the beginning of infrastructure, financial infrastructure, meaning that, like, these tax credits are still tax credits, and people forget that. They made it difficult, unnecessarily difficult. The legislature did that in 2017, but it's still, it's called the Louisiana Motion Picture Investor Tax Credit for a reason, because that's what we should have been doing from the very beginning, is creating our own content, right? And, we realized that nobody was playing matchmaker between taxpayers that could use those credits and the production companies that were earning them, right? And that's not just the production companies that have already earned them, which we can certainly help you with, but future productions, ones that are trying to get financing. So, you take it for granted, but if somebody would just cash flow those tax credits, I'm like, I'll give you the money up front if you give me a heck of a deal on these credits, when the state issues them and they go to me. That's called the Irrevocable Designee. You get to name somebody, who's going to get your credits when the state issues them. So that's the name of our company, Irrevocable Designee, LLC.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you say make our own content, are you talking make our own content or film around like us as Louisiana as a state, or like have it rooted here with the directors here, the producers here, that type of we make our own?
All the above. So, I mean, we have stories. You can't tell me we don't have good stories, right? I'm a producer like the Billy Cannon. Billy Cannon must have one of the best stories. I mean, that story arc of kind of rags to riches to bottoming out with the whole counterfeiting thing to having the only statue in front of Tiger Stadium, right? It's a redemption story, and it's probably one of the best that's never been told in film, and so that's just an example, right? But I mean, there are great stories everywhere you look. I was just down in New Orleans. I mean, think about the World War II Museum, the National World War II Museum.
Incredible space.
So many stories. I'm helping a friend of mine who's been working on the Claire Lee Chenault story. You know who that is?
I don't.
And that's sad because 90-something% of Louisiana has no idea. I mean, But the airport in Lake Charles is named after him, just so you know.
Okay.
And there's a museum in Monroe that's named after him, the Chenault Aviation Museum, right? But Lieutenant General Claire Lee Chenault is the guy who started the Flying Tigers. And you know where he's from? Waterproof, Louisiana.
I know exactly where Waterproof, Louisiana is.
As do I.
The best place to get a speeding ticket.
There is that. They do have big deer if you hunt.
I
Tensas Parish.
Only drove through there a little too quickly.
Apparently. Well, don't hit a deer. So he's from there. You know, he even went to LSU. I don't think he graduated from LSU, but there's all the speculation. Well, the Flying Tigers named after the Fighting Tigers. You know, historians will fight. There's no way that's it. But I like to tell people it was. But point being that you know, before the U.S. entered World War II, Japan was just sticking it to China. You know, I mean, bombing them. It was bad, right? Well, China like recruited this guy, you know, from the U.S. to like form. It's like the A-Team, like this band of they're call them the American, they volunteer aviators, right? You know, so these volunteers, you know, were just kind of civilians who are kind of badass stunt pilots and stuff, you know, or whatever. But he went around the country, got them. They go over there, and they just absolutely just destroyed the Japanese. You know, I mean, like again, but when I say destroyed, they prevented Japan from overrunning China. Right. And, you know, history could have been very different had Japan completely, you know, taken China. So, point being, great story. Huge hero. The movie Greyhound that shot here, do you know what I'm talking about, with Tom Hanks? So the USS Kidd was the star of this movie Greyhound with Tom Hanks.
Yeah, okay, I've heard of it. I've not seen it, but I've heard of it.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's always better to be lucky than good. Well, the boat that he wrote the script about was the exact kind of the Kidd, the destroyer, right? And so of course they shot that at Celtic, right? And anyway, one of the producers on it, from China, mind you, worked for Alibaba, and I was like skeptical when he reached out. I'm like, what kind of scam is it? But
I run Alibaba. I'm here to do a film, you know.
but it turns out when I finally had a Skype call with him, he's 13 hours ahead in Shanghai, and he speaks better English than I do, right?
Oh wow.
And his name was Alex Young, and just best guy, one of the best guys I've ever met. But Alex tells me, hey, look, I was in Baton Rouge for 2 weeks for Greyhound. We were 25% of the money behind Greyhound. He goes, I kind of specialize in these World War II stories or whatever. And he's like, what would you think about bringing a bunch of World War II projects to Baton Rouge? I'm like, yes, bring them all, you know. So
yeah.
He did like Midway, the roll, I don't know if you saw that film, but point being that, you know, and he asked me, what is it you're doing now? And I told him, I've gone back to work for the state in 2017. Again, trying to make this thing more permanent, trying to make it so people would invest in films and that kind of thing. And anyway, I told him, I said, look, great at facilitating productions, not making our own, you know, need to start telling Louisiana stories. He says, well, we just need to find a really good Louisiana Chinese story. We could do like some kind of co-production. I'm like, oh, yeah, that's a great idea. Don't think anything of it. But 15 minutes later, it dawned on me. I'm like, Chenault's from Louisiana. And I reached back out and he said, are you kidding me? He said, I've seen no less than 5 scripts about Chenault and the Flying Tigers at Alibaba. Like, one of them was even a Skydance project that Randall Wallace, the guy who did Braveheart, had written. And anyway, I said, are you kidding me? He's like, you have no idea what a big deal this guy is over here. Like, we have statues of him everywhere. You know, I mean, he's credited with saving millions of lives, right? You know, I mean, big deal in China. You know, you're like 90% of Louisiana. We have no idea who he is, but this is a story. The Flying Tigers. Now, there was a John Wayne movie in like the 40s that they did or whatever, but you know, like it's high time somebody makes that. And what he told me was that this, you know, idea of doing it as a standalone feature film or whatever, like it just wasn't working. So I said, so it should be more like Band of Brothers. And he's like, yes, it should be more like a series because it's too rich of a subject.
Right.
And lo and behold, like it's on its way to being a series.
Okay, so they've like revamped the script and kind of started drawing out the story.
A guy from Lafayette.
A guy from doing all the script writing.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I love.
Yeah. Yep. And it's fantastic. It might be one of the best pilot, like that. Read the pilot episode. I don't think he's like written the entire series. You know, he's mapped out the entire series, but
right.
But it might be one of the best scripts I've ever read.
So it's just at script phase right now. They haven't started production.
No, haven't started production. Now it's like in the development phase, which is what a lot of projects, and that's kind of like that's a lot of what I'm focusing on right now are projects in development that have potential. This one has huge potential. I mean, this has made it like it's making its way around Hollywood right now, I guess is the best way to put it.
So they're taking the script to Hollywood, trying to find a producer, director. Like, what's the process when you think from script to screen?
Well, it all depends on what level we're talking, right?
Well, so at this, like, what's the ideal process for this particular script here?
I mean, we have the money, like I would like to self-finance out of Louisiana, but you're talking about something like this. I mean, it's probably $100 million plus series to do something. If you've seen like, Band of Brothers or, I mean, think about Game of Thrones and the production value that went into
that's a different animal.
Yeah.
When it comes to a budgetary standpoint.
Yeah. Well, when you want to do something on that level, I mean, there's a good chance you're going to be spending 9 figures for a season,
Yeah.
I don't know. Did you see Masters of the Air by any chance?
No.
So that was a kind of Band of Brothers in the Air that Apple did. But I mean, how many trillions does Apple have? I don't know. So, I mean, they can afford to do that kind of big work. So we don't have access to probably that kind of because we don't have the distribution network and all that. But we can now. I mean, that's just it too, is that all the old rules are gone. Like you want to make a movie and go put it in theaters yourself, you can. You don't have to wait on Paramount or somebody else. So.
Right. Everybody's doing all the solo just production route where they're going, not the distribution route.
Yeah.
The individual distribution route where they're just taking the product once it's done and then just go and place it and pay, a theater rate.
That's right. And like the movie Reagan is a great example of that, which has some Baton Rouge ties to it. But that movie never would have gotten made by Hollywood. I mean, let's be honest. It's a movie about a conservative icon, right?
Yeah.
And that's really foolish when you think about it. This is a guy who won every state in America but Minnesota in 1984. He was obviously a pretty popular president, right? A lot of people have a lot of fondness for Ronald Reagan. Not certain people in Hollywood, right? So they would never greenlight this thing. It's a script that had been around since early 2000s. They wouldn't touch it. Wow. But some guys got together and said, you know what? Let's just independently finance ourselves, right? And they did. Shot in Oklahoma, unfortunately, but it ended up in theaters because they were able to make deals directly with the theaters, right? And it made more money than Oliver Stone's W. Or it made more money than Rob Reiner's LBJ. I mean, other presidential biopics are what you compare it to. So I guess the point is, you can do it. It can be done. And you don't have to wait on somebody else to green light a project that you like. Just because it's not their taste doesn't mean it's not the middle America's taste, right? That's something that I really believe is that Louisiana is more middle America than it is Hollywood. And we understand what people want to see. Right. Well,
and also anytime you talk to somebody who's not from here or who's visiting here, Louisiana is often viewed as this fantasy land, right? Like they can't fathom what happens here. Meaning the stuff that we see as normal, they see it as wait, you did what in high school? Wait, hang on, tell me that again. So I was just in Dallas, not in Texas, not even in a middle Midwest or, a northern state. And tell them my typical day in high school was wake up and we lived on a farm. Right. And so I would wake up, I would go milk some goats and because we had a dairy farm and I would go then to go cut grass because I had a lawn company. And then I would go and throw hay in the afternoon to make more money. And then I would go run crawfish traps in the afternoon. And then I would go and make some homemade muffins for dessert out of freshly ground wheat. And I'm thinking this is a normal Louisiana day and it's no big deal. And then in Texas, they're wait a minute. They're let me write this down. What did you do?
Right.
And it's just so fascinating to them. And everybody always thinks of Louisiana as the alligator state that we have so many alligators. Do you have a pet alligator? Right. They have all these thoughts and these mindsets of what Louisiana is. And you only have that for every other state. Right.
Right.
We've got the culture down here that people strive to somehow build where they are.
No question. So again, what you describe is quality of life. What you just described is this idyllic thing that they would probably pay, millions to have that kind of lifestyle and experience. And they do because they'll go buy someplace in Montana or Vermont or whatever,
right.
And, to get away from, the world they live in, and, look, I like Los Angeles as far as I think it's pretty out there, go to Santa Monica and watch the sunset. It's gorgeous, right? The homeless that are in Santa Monica are not gorgeous. That's you will get, hit on 15, 20 times just going from one street to the next, because of stuff like that. It's also culture and people. I mean, we like to talk about when Celtic was in its heyday, we would bring people to LSU games, and LSU is always great about like these kind of VIP types or whatever. They let them go, down on the field, or might put them in the suite or whatever. And I got to tell you, we made some very big LSU fans. I mean, just to this day, they still pull for LSU. They still email me about things they didn't know. Some didn't even know about football, I think, until they got here. Right. And, and it's gratifying, and back then I remember sometimes it would be like, I'd say, hey, I got tickets for you on the sideline. If you, and they're like, what's your angle? What do you want? They don't realize
what are you trying to get out of it?
No, this is what we do. Like somebody has some extra tickets. Like, you want, like, what do you want on me? So, again, we're, a more social. I mean, yeah, like biggest names in show business or whatever might be out there or whatever. But, here it's like, it's hard to name somebody that somebody doesn't know. They're usually kind of one phone call away. There's definitely a 6 degrees of separation out there,
I think we're more like 3 or 4.
Well, it all depends. It depends on who you're looking for, And
see, I don't think it does.
Really?
In Baton Rouge, I think you're honestly 3 or 4 connections away from anyone you want to talk to.
I guess I know a lot of people, so I'm thinking, but I'll say this. Okay, yes.
But that's the thing. You know a lot of people, but so does everybody.
Yeah.
Because it's a little big town, right? Like you walk into the grocery store, and how many times have you gone to the grocery store and you haven't seen someone you know?
No, that's a good point,
And so it's like within that, you could think through your Rolodex of people that you know, and anyone you're trying to get a hold of is probably 3, maybe 4 connections away.
That's right. Like, or you just look them up on Facebook, and it's like, oh, we got all these mutual friends here.
No.
Yeah,
I think in real person, I think you're no more than 4 away from trying to get in touch with somebody that you want to get in touch with.
Oh, certainly no more than 4. But I think that it could be less.
No, I agree. I think it's like 3.
Yeah.
Depending on how well connected you are, it could be 1 or 2.
You're right.
But you go to a bigger city. You go to a LA. You go to a Seattle. You go to a Dallas. You go to New York. You're talking north of 6.
Yeah.
To get in touch with somebody. It's like, oh, we got to go talk to this person. You got to go talk to that person. You got to talk to this person. Then you talk to that person. Then you'll meet the person.
Yeah.
Whereas here, it's like, oh, wait, hang on. Yeah, I saw them at the game on Saturday. Let me text them. You want coffee, breakfast? What do you want?
Yeah, it's true. I don't guess he'd mind me telling this. We're talking about Brian Lord, who's the CEO of CAA. Biggest agency in Hollywood. People say he's, one of the biggest deals ever, out there. He's from New Iberia, so when I went back to work for the state in 2018, I knew like how, influential and how much he knew about the industry and all that. And so I just reached out to him one day, and I got a return within 24 hours, I can't get people in this town to call me back in like 24 days half the time. You know what I mean? But I will say this. I think the reason why he returned is because he's a Louisiana guy, and I don't think that just anybody will do that. And I know they just not. Trust me, I've been doing this for a long time. A lot of people will ignore you, try to ghost you or whatever, it's their loss if they do. But yeah, I think it's a mentality and it's a mindset. And that's an advantage that we have over them because they don't trust each other. And they don't return calls if it's somebody that they think, oh, he's just got some angle. He's just.
They're just trying to work in.
They're trying to hustle me.
Yeah. So on the irrevocable designee part, talk us through the credits as they are today, because we all know they could change tomorrow, right?
Sure.
So
well, let's hope not.
Well, let's hope not, right? But so that was one of the big things that people were pushing is Louisiana's great because you've got great tax incentives.
Yep.
So talk us through that and what that looks like.
Yeah, so we don't have an unlimited amount of tax incentives now. Like Georgia does. Georgia issues about $1.3 billion a year.
Oh,
yeah. So like we're less than 10% because our program is now at $125 million, right?
Still not nothing.
Yeah. Now, Texas has what's basically $150 million a year, but it's not a tax credit. It's a rebate, right? So,
because they don't have state income tax.
That's correct. Yeah, they don't have. You see, yeah. Now, when they asked me, like when they're redoing their program or whatever. I was like, if I were you, I'd put it against oil and gas severance tax because you got plenty of that, But no, they just had to go to the rebate because they got so much money in Texas. It's sick. But anyway, but in Atlanta, for example, think about it, you got Home Depot, you got Delta Airlines, you got Coca-Cola, you got huge Fortune 500 companies that are based there. And you got Netflix, Warner Brothers. And I mean, again, these big studios are shooting there all the time. So they have this symbiotic relationship where these fully transferable tax credits, they're more than happy to like work together and take the credits from you. Now they do have a brokering system. So I usually go through a broker to get them. We can't broker here anymore, right? But we can play matchmaker, right? So the thing is like, I mean, I guess I have a bunch of relationships because I've worked with these people for a long time. I know who's like earning tax credits and whatever, but you have to get a sense of like, when are they going to be issued, and so I have to like, talk to them about that. And then what I have to do is find somebody who has similar liability. Right. And so, it's like playing love connection here with tax credits. And so if somebody says, hey, well, look, I'm going to owe $1 million at the end of this year, and I know, well, so-and-so's got about $1 million that they're about to issue, and so like, again, I'm going to say, hey, I found somebody who would like to, and what we do is it's almost like a loan in the sense that like, they say, all right, I'm going to give you the money. And, but when the state issues the credit, they're going to issue them in my name, not yours. Right. And so that's how it works. And so, it's basically, and for the productions, they love it. And here's why, because if they had to sell them back to the state, which is what we'd kind of like been pushing them towards, they're going to net at best 88 cents on the dollar. Right.
Right.
And, it's going to take them anywhere from 60 days to 10 months for the Department of Revenue to turn around a check. So, time value of money, it would be better if like, hey, if I could find somebody who would take these off my hands, like as soon as they're issued, that would be much better. Right. So we're in from a production or from a making Louisiana, a place that you want to shoot standpoint, the quicker you can monetize, the more attractive it is. Right. So we're trying to speed up the process. And that makes people want to come here more, because if you have to wait 10 months on top of the 2 years or whatever that you just had to wait, I mean, so especially for independents, they don't have all the time in the world to pay back a loan. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, so the hope is that this is going to start, the process of people doing more loans, but maybe to the point where, well, I like this project so much, maybe I want to own a piece of it, so that's kind of what we're trying to do. Matchmaking, not brokering, matchmaking.
Thank you to our wonderful sponsor, Lake Men's Health Center with Our Lady of the Lake Physicians Group. Guys, I know it's tough to get out and go to the doctor. I know it's challenging to find time in our busy days, but I promise you, signing up to be a part of this group with Dr. Curtis Chastain and Dr. Tyler Boudreau, you won't regret it for several reasons, but most of those being the fact of the time it saves, where you're able to get in on the same day, get that appointment done, and spend that time you need to talk with them about what your health goals and concerns are, as well as ensuring that the financial investments you have, you will be able to live out and see those come to fruition. So if you're an investing guy, you know all about and planning for the future and investing in the future. There's no other more important thing to invest in than your health. Make sure you go check them out, Our Lady of the Lake Physicians Group Men's Health Center, and tell them Patty G sent you.
Sounds pretty much like the same thing, though.
Well, brokering, they would buy them at one price, and they would sit on them and sell them, right? We can't do that, but we can say, call that guy. He's got them, so, yeah, the biggest issues that I'm dealing with right now, like just bureaucracy stuff that like, these are holdover rules, of like, well, we can only name one irrevocable designee per production, right? And
per production.
Yeah. It's like, why? Because most productions have multiple financiers, right? You're only going to, like, if I get 3 or 4 guys together who want to invest in a film, you're going to tell me you're going to only issue them to one guy? Now they could be in an LLC together and they could all like split them up in the LLC.
Right.
But here's the thing. I know perfect examples of people who both want to invest in the same project, but they don't like each other. They don't want to be in the same LLC.
Yeah, they don't want to be in the same LLC with them. Yeah.
So, again, a little flexibility would go a long way towards making Louisiana a place where people do get to greenlight their own projects, So we don't need to be dependent upon Hollywood to bring us work. We need to be making our own.
Yeah. So in the current state that we have, you can only have one person.
One entity.
One entity per.
So that could be an LLC, or it could be an individual, whatever kind of company,
So you could, in theory, create an LLC and then add in some partners to it, and then have the flow through from there.
You can do that.
Okay.
Gotta make sure they like each other.
A little creative.
You can get a little creative. Yeah, I know. I've had lots of tax attorney types, and that crowd pretty well, don't you? Yeah.
So you've got. Is there any parameters around how long they have to be in business for if they are an LLC?
I don't think so. I mean, I guess you got
can you spin up the LLC Jan 1 and then close it out and do an initial and final return for the LLC?
I can't imagine why you couldn't. I mean, you allow for all kinds of other
right. Just have a 12 month. I mean, because when you're making the LLC, it asks you how long the duration you think it'll be. You can give perpetual, or you can give 6-8 months.
Yeah.
Or you can give whatever you want for the duration of the LLC. So it's if you do that, then you have tax credits 2025 number 1 LLC.
Yeah. Well, when you think about it, most of these production companies are single-purpose LLCs that come in. They're going to make one movie.
Yeah, they're all
and they're one and done.
Yeah.
But that's the system we've set up. Is that again, when Warner Brothers, or I hate to pick on them, whatever, earns tax credits, it's not Warner Brothers earning the tax credits. It's True Detective LLC, right?
Right.
You're going to name the production. And then there are many, many reasons why you do that anyway, right?
Right.
But they're the ones who earn them. It's interesting. Some of these bigger companies, I don't want to name names, but they actually have liability in Louisiana now, and they'll use this money themselves. Or they might have a parent company, and they'll name them as the irrevocable designee, and it'll go to that company, right? So, the system it's been working like this for a while. Past administration just really didn't want to do it as a tax credit. It's cleaner. Let's just write them a check,
They just wanted to buy them back.
Yeah. But when you think about it, you're having to write very large checks in some cases, I'm talking, 8-figure checks.
Yeah. You're giving away money at that point.
That's just a check going straight to a Hollywood company from the state treasury. That's money going out.
Right.
I think money not coming in as fast is better from a fiscal standpoint for the state. I also think it helps a Louisiana business or an individual who's going to save something. In our case, it's 7.5% you'll save on what you normally have to pay. What are you going to do with that money? Well, I might go buy a bass boat. I don't know.
You're gonna spend it elsewhere is the thought.
Correct. It's going to go back into our.
It's going to go back into circulation.
Right.
You're going to supposedly spend it on another Louisiana-based entity or whatever.
And look, maybe one day we do get rid of income tax, and maybe we get rid of these things, and we'll come up with alternatives if that's the case. But what's your theory of government? Is it better for that money to be with the state treasury, or is it better to be with businesses and individuals? I'm kind of a businesses and individuals kind of guy. But.
Yeah. So, and how is the current the current tax credit structured now? Aren't there tiers or something like that?
Oh,
you got, some percentage of production done here and all that stuff.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of how it was, where it was it was 25 base and it was 5 if you shot outside of New Orleans, and it was 15 for all the locals on your production payroll. And you could stack them up to 40%, right? Okay. They passed a law this past year that gives them the discretion where just be a flat 40 if it meets enough criteria,
So what are the criteria?
Well, they're kind of broad and nebulous at this point, but they're going to be coming up with rules for them. But you can kind of look at what they're going for. One is that is in the best interest of Louisiana. That's a little nebulous.
Wait, that's a category?
That's a category.
Is it in the best interest of Louisiana? All right.
Look, if there,
who's the judge of this?
Well, that's a good question. These are all the things we want answers to. But one is, look, if something makes us look really bad and makes you never want to come to Louisiana, I'm not sure I would want to give them credits.
That's fair.
Okay. Well, I mean, again, you only have 125 million, so it's like you need to be really picky about what it is you give them to, in my opinion, right? And so, which leads us to the next criteria is economic impact. Like, okay, did you hire a lot of local people? Now, when I say economic impact, I think about things like what we were talking about earlier, residuals. Like, was there Louisiana investment in this project? Because if it is, then that means it's more likely money is going to come back after it's done. Is it set in Louisiana? You know, I mean, think about Steel Magnolias that shot like in the 80s or 80s or early 90s. Anyway, point being that it's still one of the most sought after or, destinations in Louisiana. People want to go to Natchitoches to see the house from Steel Magnolias. Okay. So something that's set here, more likely to bring in tourists, right? And people, again, it's going to have an economic life long after it's done, or the odds are higher if it's set here. Is it a Louisiana content creator? Think about Tyler Perry, right? He was here once upon a time. Had we done a little bit more to keep him around, he might have built his empire in New Orleans versus Atlanta, right? And he would have set things here all the time, right? Steven Soderbergh, another example. I forget, it's like 2.3 billion his films have grossed, but we let that guy get away after he shot Sex, Lies, and Videotape right here in Baton Rouge. Which I tell people all the time, makes Baton Rouge the birthplace of modern independent film. I don't know if you knew that, but that film is credited with that.
For the birth of
modern independent film. In fact, it put the Sundance Film Festival on the map.
Okay.
So, I mean, we really should lean into that we love independent filmmaking here. But the content creator would be a criteria. I would look at that, and I would look at, is there Louisiana money behind it? Meaning, or could the money come back? So, and again, hiring locals always like key for economic. Did you spend money locally? The other two, one is, can we afford it?
Can we afford to cut the check, or can we afford to not have that money coming in?
Well, that's right. I mean, I'll be honest with you. Like, I don't want a $300 million Marvel movie to come in and eat up the entire allotment for the year.
That's fair.
Like
one film could eat it all up.
One and done, So, I mean, I'm looking, this comes from the guy that ran the big stages here, and that's the kind of projects that would be great for it. But one project, so we got to be smart about what it is that we're
so do you put a cap on individual projects?
Well, that's just it. It's discretion. It's LED discretion now, right?
I guess it also depends on the appetite for the rest of the year.
Oh yeah, right. Look,
if you have one Marvel film come in
and there's nothing else on the books, I'll take it.
Credits, because they spent $300 million in the community.
Don't look a gift horse in the mouth,
But if you've got 1 year where you've got a handful of 10, 25, 100, all these different budgets come in.
Yeah.
You want to make sure that it gets properly spread.
Right. It's like being on a budget. It's like, okay, can we really afford this? Right. I'm okay with that being a criteria.
This episode of the Patty G Show is brought to you by Cortex. Cortex is the trusted technology partner for small businesses across Louisiana, delivering managed IT, cybersecurity, and smart strategies to help you leverage AI without the confusion. I mean, aren't we all confused by AI nowadays? As a locally owned company, we understand the challenges Louisiana businesses face and provide tailored solutions that keep your operations secure and efficient. Whether you're looking to strengthen your cybersecurity or explore how AI can give your business a competitive edge, Cortex is here to help. Be sure to mention the Patty G Show and receive a free cybersecurity risk and analysis to see where your business stands.
And then the fourth one is it's really more about statewide spending, I think is what they call it. Meaning that, like, once upon a time, everything went to New Orleans, and everything would only go to New Orleans. Like,
right.
There are union reasons, there are direct flights, there are all kinds of reasons why New Orleans has an advantage over everybody else, right? So if New Orleans is busy, it'd be nice for somebody who's making the judgment call of, like, do we want to qualify this and say, New Orleans is awfully busy. Can you shoot it in Baton Rouge or Monroe or Lake Charles or wherever, And if the answer is yes, then I have a feeling that, like, you'll move up in the queue, as far as, like, okay. But if you say, nope, New Orleans or nothing, I'm like, well, maybe to wait a little bit, so.
Yeah, I get it.
So it's more of this big discretion that they have now. Now, the question is, can they pull that off and keep everybody happy?
Well, now you're ultimately making your case.
Correct.
You have to go and pitch why you think you should get the credits. Because, I mean...
As it is, that's the way it is in the industry. I mean, if I have to go out to Hollywood, Is
that what they do there?
Well, you're going to have to pitch your project,
Okay.
Why would this be good for, Warner Brothers or Netflix to make? Or, okay, tell me why we should make this movie, Well, it's, okay, tell me why Louisiana should help you make this movie. It's really or it's anything. I want to borrow money from you, Patty G.
Yeah.
You're going to ask me what's it for?
Right. What's it for? Where are you going to spend it? Yeah.
Yeah. That's just how the world works. And I'm okay with that.
Well, I think it also opens up a little bit more when you look at statewide spend and you look at local spend, meaning they can still bring in out-of-state people so long as they put them up in local hotels.
Oh, sure.
Because now you've got the hotel revenue coming in. So, if you go and book out the whole Marriott downtown,
absolutely,
they're going to be happy with that. But if you say, oh, no, we just flew them in for the day on their own jet and we paid the minimal fee in a BTR private hangar,
yeah,
that's not going to be as attractive, as if you put everybody up in hotels that are here.
And conversely, we not talked about this, how, films and TV shows are the perfect vehicles for student athletes.
Right.
Thanks to NIL, right? You can put them in the film or the TV show. You can pay them whatever you want if it's an independent, and somebody's going to earn up to a 40% tax credit on whatever that student athlete got paid, right? Well, he's like, oh, that sounds like, no, that is perfectly legal. But here's the thing that's from the producer standpoint. Let's say that I needed some special abilities. Let's say I needed a couple of cast members who could swim a long distance or whatever, right?
Right.
Okay. Well, I'm going to have to go through central casting or whatever in LA and find somebody who's got that. I'm going to have to fly them in and I'm going to have to put them up. It's going to cost me an arm and a leg to feed them and everything else, whatever. When I could just go down the LSU swim team and they're just down the street and they just cut, I give them a couple of
say
great meals.
Which one of your students want to come and swim on set,
right? And so what we're doing is saving the production money, right, by having people access to people like that.
It all goes back to the crew comment, right? We have a crew here. You don't have to worry about flying in all these crews and everything else. You come here with the product and say we're going to do everything within the state.
That's it.
And hire people, rent all that equipment, all that stuff. Use the sound stages that are here.
Yeah.
And now you've got everything self-contained within one state where you're not having to worry about all that stuff.
That's right. Skilled craftsmen, and experiences. We have those people if we can put them back to work, So yeah, crew is extremely important. Anything that you don't have to fly in would save you money if you're coming in from out of state. But I want to quit looking at it like that. I want to look at it as I'm making it here. Right. And so I don't have to use any of your people because I got all my people here. I don't need you to come in from California because I got enough people here. Now you're always going to want some recognizable star or whatever. And they may not live here, but that's just the business. I mean.
Right. But at some point they weren't a recognizable star.
People do, you sell foreign territories. If you're trying to pre-sell this project or whatever, they ask you, well, who's in it? Bruce Willis for one day.
Yeah.
Whatever, right?
It's a very, very short clip.
Yeah.
To your point. But then now the model's kind of also shifted with streaming services where they can make a product and then go sell it straight to a Prime or a Hulu or a Peacock.
Yes.
And they don't have to go through and have people go watch it in a theater. Everybody can just stream it now. So then they build the project and they say, had a $5 million budget. I'll sell it to you for $6 million.
Yeah.
And then it's okay. That's easy.
And here's the crazy thing. This has been the past week or two. Have you heard of verticals? Do you know what verticals are?
In what?
Probably business.
I was about to say, in what sense?
This is they call them micro dramas. Okay. These are so when I say the verticals, because you think about it, you look at your phone, right, and you're swiping up or whatever because they're little reels that you're watching, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's a whole class now of productions that
wait a second, I've seen some of these before.
Okay. Yeah, the little soap operas.
It's yes.
They call them micro dramas now.
I didn't know there was. I didn't know there was.
I've learned a lot about this myself recently. So it's an $8 billion industry in China. Okay.
All right.
And it's because attention spans have decreased so much, right? And it's funny, but this is crazy. There's something called Quibi. I don't know if you remember this, that came out during the pandemic. Quibi stands for quick bites. Okay. It was a whole company, big Hollywood names behind it, because they realized that this is what's happening with attention spans. And so they launched it and it failed. Okay. Because during the pandemic, we all had plenty of time on our hands, right? We would watch long form movies and TV shows. We binge watch because we had lots of time. Well, the world's changed again. We don't have as much time as we used to. You know, anybody who's sitting there and watching this entire Patty G show is my best friend, because they've got an attention span, right? But kids these days, you know, I feel like the grumpy old man. Kids these days, they don't necessarily do that. They like watching things in little 5-minute bursts, right? So I know a guy, and again, this is a guy who's one of the producers of Star Wars and Star Trek, and Top Gun Maverick, who was here with us for Battle Los Angeles. And he reached out, and he's very interested in turning Baton Rouge into the verticals capital of America. Okay. Because he knows this is the future, you know, and these micro dramas, they're cheap to produce and they're extremely lucrative. I have an example of one that cost $100,000 to make and sold for $1 million, right? So,
oh my gosh.
Yeah. And this guy has like 50 of these lined up right now. So my point is, and he's going to start a platform thinking about basing it out of Baton Rouge, you know, anyway.
Oh, yeah, I mean, because you make it so like just high moments within 5-minute intervals, it becomes a lot easier to do that.
What I'm telling is people who have like scripts that they've had a movie they've been trying to get made forever, you know, and it's 90 pages or whatever. I'm like, cut it up into 5-minute chunks, call it a vertical.
Yeah.
Right.
Jeez.
And it's like, you know, and because it's almost like, you know, you pay, it's like YouTube. I mean, it's the thing I saw the other day, you know, the most profitable streamer is in America right now. It's YouTube, right? I mean, more so than Netflix. I mean, just by far, right?
Welcome to the brand new Falia mobile app. We took all the same tech that's helped hundreds of people sell their homes themselves and packed it into an easy-to-use app for your phone. When you download the Falia mobile app on either the Apple or Android App Store, you'll immediately be able to see the power of this game-changing tool. From the seller's dashboard, you can navigate to all the information that you need. We intentionally separated everything into key groups, such as tasks to be completed, buyer leads for your listing, and contact information for everyone involved through closing. When you get an offer on your property, you can simply review and respond all within the app. No matter where you are in the world, you'll be able to monitor everything that's going on with your property from listed to sold. It's truly the power of Falia in the palm of your hand. Download the app and see for yourself. Falia, it's real estate reimagined.
Just because of their model, you know, I mean, again, you can put your self-distribute on YouTube, right? And you can have ads and you can have whatever. And you can, you're on YouTube, huh?
Yeah, we're on YouTube.
Right, exactly. So, the clicks and all that. You know,
absolutely.
Yeah. So, you don't have to rely on, my friends, I love Sony and whatever, but you don't need you to put me in a theater. I don't need you to like get me to Netflix or whatever, so a lot of these things can be self-distributed. I mean, this is a TikTok world that we're living in. And what's really scary to me, think about this, self-driving cars, I mean, it's here. Yeah.
Oh, it's happening. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you got a Tesla, you may have the package already, I hear stories about people doing stuff and like, well, you shouldn't be doing that, but it's coming, right? Well, when we have like time on our hands, and if you're just going from point A to point B and it's going to take you 15 minutes or whatever to get there, like maybe you will like take, knock out 2 episodes of a vertical series, but it doesn't have to be just micro dramas. They can be micro comedies or whatever, so I really think that there's something to that. I hate it because I like a, good long epic movie. I'm probably gonna go see that Paul Thomas Anderson thing. It's like 3 hours long or whatever, but yeah. I'm 50.
Right. No, but it's true. Those are gaining in popularity as the swipe culture continues.
That is correct. It is what it is. You either just adapt and evolve, or you get left behind, right? And so somebody who is that big that they could do Top Gun Maverick or whatever, and they're saying, you know what, we better bet on that, then that tells me something. That should tell us all something. So I'd love for Baton Rouge to be the verticals capital of America.
Yeah.
You could have about 10 different series on a stage. It is kind of like the old days of TV where you would have a set that maybe they're using it for the honeymooners and they turn it over and they put it for, I don't know, some cop show or whatever.
Yeah.
Just because, again, like you want standing sets on a place like Celtic where you can just like go in there, knock them out, next, so
yeah, and be done with it.
Yeah. So right. I'm embracing the future, even though I'm old.
You got to figure out a way to be involved in it.
That's right. Yeah. And I think that, there's all kinds of just things to think about. Brand entertainment, that's just such a strange thing to me, but like companies now are getting to the game because they actually have money, and so what you do is you produce a film that every time you have product placement, again, that can be centered, like you write it into the script or whatever. Right. What's really interesting to me too, is this Chick-fil-A thing. Have you seen this?
I was going to say Chick-fil-A is doing that.
Yeah. They're going to have their own streaming service, and you get it. I mean, Dan Cathy, Chick-fil-A, they're not open on Sundays, right? So family friendly content. Yeah. So, that makes that's
Sunday
their brand.
Sunday cartoon.
That's part of their brand.
Even now, you're not only thinking about Chick-fil-A 6 days a week. Now we've got you thinking about Chick-fil-A 7 days a week.
As I'm drinking beer, but yeah. So they have the largest sound stage, one of the largest in North America, maybe the largest. It's called what's called Pinewood. It's now called Trilith. It's where all those Marvel movies shot back when they still shot in the U.S. Now they go, like I said, overseas.
Yeah.
But again, he's doing it because he can, right? He can create his own content, build his own brand, and have his own streaming service. I mean, again, the world's changed. I mean, again, I don't know that we necessarily have to put everything on the traditional platforms.
Right.
So
it's figuring out how to adapt with where the eyeballs and people are moving.
So figure out how to stand out. I mean, it really is the marketplace of ideas, so, a couple of 100 movies get made every year in the U.S. Well, with these verticals, I mean, you're talking thousands. Everybody's going to think that they're,
everybody's think that they can do it and produce one.
Yeah, right. So the bar for like standing out is going to be pretty high. You got to really be good, really funny, really scary, really like, I mean, you got to be on top of your game to stand out, I think.
No doubt.
So that's okay.
Yeah. I'm excited to see where it goes,
As am I.
Yeah. So as we start to wrap up the show, I mentioned we have, a set list of questions we ask every guest.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So the first one is, what is something you did as a kid you wish you could still do today?
Oh, wow. Play G.I. Joes. I don't know about you, but man, I love G.I. Joes, man. And because I've looked at them, like they show up in my feeds all the time of like, trying to get me to like buy vintage toys, whatever.
Your feed knows you better than you do.
Right. And I find myself looking at it, like, oh, I remember I had that guy, but anyway, I enjoyed that.
Okay. What are like 3 lessons you've learned along the way?
Yeah. I'm going to say that, treat people like you want to be treated. I mean, that's just the basic one, again, and man, that's gotten me pretty far. I'll be honest with you. I mean, just be nice to people. I mean, it's such a basic thing, but some people don't get that, I'm going to say, again, perseverance is everything, I mean, again, it goes along with the whole don't be afraid to fail, thing or whatever. And people fail all the time, but people give up. I've seen so many people give up. I've seen people with great ideas, great projects, people who are super talented, like working in front of the camera or whatever. But because it couldn't, they just threw in the towel, and they gave up on their dreams, So, and that's the third one. Dream big.
Yeah.
I think that too many people, think small. And I think if you think small, you're going to get small results. And so if you think big and dream big, I mean, it's not going to happen unless you think that way. It'll never happen unless you say, well, this is what I would love to happen.
Right.
and then you go out there and you project it, you expect it or whatever. I'm just saying that, like, I think that that's maybe a problem we have here in this town sometimes, is that, like, we think, oh, well, we could never do that. Who says? We could never win the national championship in 2019 or whatever, with this, castaway quarterback from Ohio State,
Yeah.
But, we did. The best college football team of all time. Right?
Absolutely.
So I just think that if people were nice to each other, people didn't quit, and then they just, like, really, really, like, shoot for the moon, so I'm just saying.
I love it.
There you go.
So what is something you love about Baton Rouge?
Other than LSU football, I'll be honest with you, I love downtown.
Okay.
Again, once upon a time, it felt like it was Austin. It was about to be Austin with, like, 6th Street, like we're here on 3rd Street, and man, it was just, it was multiple nights per week, it was packed, it was always busy, and on the weekends. Pandemic, man, pandemic, just, like, people quit coming or whatever. People, like, don't working downtown or whatever. But, like, I'm on the War Memorial Board for USS Kid. I love the Kid, but we need more attractions like that, but I love Spanish Town Mardi Gras, and, just when we're on the Halloween parade, we have so many good things that just, but we need more of them,
Yeah, we've seen a continuation all year to get people down here.
Because it's walkable,
Oh, absolutely.
And parking is not as bad as people make it out to be. Crime is definitely not as bad as people make it out to be, whatever. And if you don't like the homeless, we'll have more things down here, and the homeless don't want to be around you, So I think, I don't have to sell you on downtown. So,
so what is something I can do to help you?
Get me in touch with Todd Graves. Raising Cane's Entertainment. I'm telling you, man, this guy would kill it. Absolutely.
I like
his brand, his brand is a lot more fun than Chick-fil-A. Let's be honest, again, a lot of the guys that, we see in his commercials or whatever they're actors, or some of them, at least, they're entertainers.
Yeah.
So, I think he's got a knack for it. I think that Raising Cane's could do verticals if they wanted to,
I'm sure. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's we're lucky to have somebody like Todd, Oh, he was the Saints. I shouldn't say that. No, I'm just saying, we're just, we can be really proud of that franchise. Think of how big that is now. And that was born right here.
Yep.
I might have even gone there on opening night in 1996. That's how old I am. I think I stumbled out of the varsity and
you're like, chicken?
Really? Chicken at 1:30 in the morning?
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. No, it's amazing how things can happen. So.
Oh, yeah. I love it, man. Well, thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me, Patty G.
Sharing your story. It was really great to talk shop.
I'll talk your ear off, yeah.
Absolutely, man. So thank you. I really appreciate it.
We'll do this again, maybe.
Absolutely. So thank you, everybody else, for watching or listening, whatever platform you're consuming us on. Let's tell Louisiana stories. You got some stories, hit us up. Maybe some script ideas. You never know. Dream big, right? So let us know what you think. Let us know if you want to get involved. But yeah, we'll see y'all next week on the new episode of The Patty G Show.